And it is 6 o'clock. You've got it tuned to KMUD Garberville, 91.1 FM and HD1, KMUE Eureka, 88.1 FM and HD1, KLAI Laytonville, 90.3 FM, on the web at kmud.org, and FM translator K258BQ Shelter Cove, 99.5. Now, support for KMUD comes from listeners like you and from local hardware and garden supply store Daisies. When times are tough, Daisies is there to lend a helping hand to the community with Humboldt locations in Redway, Arcata, and Willow Creek, and Oregon locations in Medford and Canyonville. Daisies carries power equipment, garden supplies, water tanks, and at-home delivery. Daisies, because how we grow matters. Stay tuned. We're going to be handing off to Lauren Schmidt with the Humboldt County 5th District Supervisor Candidate Forum. That's happening from 6 to 8.
Good evening to our listeners and viewers, and welcome to the KMUD News Candidate Forum with those in the bidding for Humboldt County's 5th Supervisorial District for the June 2022 primary election, with vote-by-mail ballots expected to be mailed out in the coming days. Humboldt County's 5th District includes Fieldbrook, Hoopa, Corbell, McKinleyville, Orleans, Orick, Trinidad, Wichpeck, West Haven, and Willow Creek. Residents in those cities and unincorporated towns will vote for either incumbent Steve Madrone or candidate Larry Doss. The candidate who receives 50% plus one of the vote by June 7th will serve as the 5th District's representative for the next 4 years. The board enacts legislation governing Humboldt County and determines overall policies for county departments and various special districts, adopts the annual budget, and fixes salaries. The board also hears appeals of Planning Commission decisions and considers general plan amendments. As of 2019, the yearly salary for the position is $95,000. Tonight, local nonprofits will be asking candidates a variety of questions relevant to their mission. The groups include the Eureka chapter of the NAACP, Centro del Pueblo, the Humboldt and Del Norte Central Labor Council, the North Coast People's Alliance, Cooperation Humboldt, Healthcare for All, Humboldt Physicians for a National Health Program, the North Coast Environmental Center, Affordable Homeless Housing Alternatives, the Coalition for Responsible Transportation Priorities, the Humboldt County Transition Age Youth Collaborative, Humboldt Area Center for Harm Reduction, 350 Humboldt, Queer Humboldt, and the Redwood Coalition for Climate and Environmental Responsibility. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer each question, followed by a 1-minute rebuttal, which will be allotted to each candidate. I would like to note that KMUD is a neutral entity, and we do not endorse or promote any individual candidate, political party, or ideal. It is our mission to inform, educate, and inspire our listening community. We are coming to you live on KMUD Radio and have a live video stream on the KMUD News Facebook page. Starting at 7 p.m., members of the public are invited to submit questions by calling the station at 707-923-3911, or you can submit your questions on the KMUD News Facebook page. Before we get going, I would like to thank our engineer, Javier Rodriguez, our tech support, Ryan Christensen, our timekeeper, Stella Gherkins, and Caroline Griffin for helping to organize this event that gives the public the opportunity to participate in democracy. Now, I would like to open the floor to our candidates for a brief 3-minute intro as to who you are, starting with candidate Larry Doss. We'll start the clock.
Hi, thank you, and good evening to all your listeners as well. My name is Larry Doss. I am a 52-year resident of Humboldt County. My folks moved me here when I was 4 years old, and I have never left. I've found full education through everywhere from kindergarten through 2 years of college. I've owned 2 businesses, and I've raised 3 kids. They're all adults and out of high school. And one of the things that I'm interested in is making opportunities for our youth to find living wage careers here in Humboldt County and be able to stay if they choose. And as a parent, I'm a little bit biased towards that. I love Humboldt County. I want to see it remain a beautiful rural lifestyle. I believe strongly in private property rights and individual rights to make their own, individuals make their own decisions and not be forced with mandates, whether it's health or other issues. So personal freedom, property rights, and just be able to help facilitate Humboldt County continue to be an enjoyable place to live and have fun being here. So thank you.
Okay, and Steve Madrone, we'll start the clock. A quick intro, let folks know who you are.
Thank you, Lauren, and thank you, KMUD listeners, for being here tonight. I think this is going to be an exciting couple of hours, and as always, KMUD is bringing things forward to us to inform us, to educate us, and help us be responsible residents of Humboldt County. I've lived in Humboldt County for 49 years, and I have lived in the 5th District for 46 years. So I know the people, I know the areas, I know who to go to when we need to get things done in all the various communities around the 5th District. The 5th District is very large. It's almost, well, it's 2/5, almost half of the county. It's basically everything north and east of the Mad River. And it includes everywhere all the way up through Oric, almost to Klamath, up the and east out to Willow Creek, all the way up to Witchpeck and Orleans. And it also goes all the way down the Mad River to Maple Creek. So it's a very large district with a very diverse community. I know it well, and I'm very proud and honored to have served as the supervisor for the last 4 years. I have a tremendous amount of background in watershed management and land use planning, and I bring those skills to the board in order to help us make all the very difficult decisions that we have in front of us these days. I'm proud to be endorsed by all of the electeds in the area, including Congressman Huffman, Senator McGuire, Assemblyman Wood, most of the unions in Humboldt County, as well as the retired electeds like Wesley Chesbrough, Julie Fulkerson, and others, but also the unions. The working people support me, and most of those unions have endorsed me. Many community members, and I'm also very honored to have been endorsed by all 3 of our local tribes in the 5th District, Hupa, Karuk, and the Yurok tribes. I'm a bridge builder. Anybody that knows me knows that I work hard to reach out to both sides of issues and bring people together on common ground. You know, where do we have issues that we find common ground that we can move forward on to help our community thrive, be safe, and move forward? I'm part of the new party. It's called the GSD party, or Get Stuff Done party, basically. And I think I have the skills to do that. I've shown that in my work over the last 40-some years in Humboldt, as well as in my term on the supervisors. I'm very focused on housing, jobs, while also protecting the environment. Thank you. Okay, 30 seconds. Well, anyway, I think I've said mostly what I want to say, except the most important part, and that is I am a grandpa of 20 with 6 adopted foster kids. Both my daughters have adopted, and I have 1 great grandchild. So the future of Humboldt County matters a lot to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to go to one of the local nonprofits, the Coalition for Responsible Transportation Priorities. Ryan, who's here doing tech support, some of these nonprofits recorded videos. We're going to go to that video right now.
I'm Colin Fisk, Executive Director of CRTP, the Coalition for Responsible Transportation Priorities. And this question is from CRTP and the North Coast Environmental Center. Humboldt County's Regional Transportation Plan and Comprehensive Action Plan for Energy, as well as the forthcoming Climate Action Plan, all call for significantly reducing the amount of driving in the county. What will you do to ensure that the county meets these adopted targets and reduces the role of cars in our communities.
Okay, Supervisor Madrone, we're going to go to you for this first one, 2 minutes.
Thank you, Lauren. Well, that's a great question, right? It's on all of our minds. Climate change is real, and we need to deal with it. Some of the ways we deal with that is through improved land use and planning. We've adopted an updated general plan, and now we need to apply the zoning as part of that update. But in the process, what we're looking is trying to do a lot of infill where services already exist, and that provides a lot better way to provide transit and increased multimodal transportation with safe passage for pedestrians, as well as motorcycle going by, as well as having safe opportunities for bicyclists. So I've been working on those things all over Humboldt County for a long time, like the Hammond Trail. We're currently working on a project in South McKinleyville to increase multimodal transportation there. We've been doing a transit study. I'm also working with the Yurok tribe and the county Humboldt Transit Authority to bring back the bus transit between Willow Creek, Hoopa, Witchpeck, and even downriver up there and up to Orleans. So there's a lot we can do in that arena, but it also comes down to the kinds of housing projects we bring forward that we need to make sure they're being electrified so that we can shift over to electric vehicles as that technology is getting better and better. We also need to be protecting our forest lands and our watersheds, and we do that through land use planning and trying to make sure that the bulk of our new housing and the rest of it happens where we already have services, where we can be more efficient, where people can walk and bicycle to the store and to all the things they need to do in their community.
And Larry Doss, same question. And I just want to let you both know that if you need me to repeat one of those questions, I'd be happy to.
Thank you. So there's a lot of issues in the air aside from just limiting transportation. I'll try to stay more focused on the transportation question. One of the I believe grounding principles is going to be with me is going to be to be careful not to limit transportation so much that it will harm our rural lifestyles and the folks that are living their lifestyles living in the far outreaches of the county, because it's very difficult to drive miles of gravel or dirt roads and expect to have public transportation close. So that's got to be in our minds as a very critical issue to not isolate people, and I believe that could be dangerous. And then I believe also that our transportation questions of how to green them up more and get rid of internal combustion modes of transportation is going to come with technology. And I'm an avid reader of the outlets that share what's going on with technology. There's an exciting company in Sacramento that is using a plant-based fuel that can replace diesel and jet fuel. So I believe technology, given a little bit of time, is going to help with those answers coming at us.
Steve Madrone, 1 minute.
Thank you. Yeah, those are all important things, but the bottom line is climate change is real, and we don't have a lot of time to react. We really need to be pushing rapidly with the changes, with the technology we have, and there is fantastic technology already available to us. So it really comes down to us putting ourselves out there and making sure we get these things done now, not later. Well, we've had a lot of time to make these changes, but now is the time to be doing that and moving forward on all the new technologies we already have. There's a lot of ways to make that happen. Thank you.
Larry Doss, 1 minute.
So again, to my point, I believe technology is around the corner, is going to be there. It's sad to see that we make things appear to be more green in America, yet we allow large strip mines in Africa and China to happen just to get lithium for batteries. So I believe the technology is going to take some of those issues away from us, and we'll be a whole picture of green for the whole planet.
Thank you both. We're going to go to our next question, which comes from the Affordable Homeless Housing Alternatives, or AHA, and we're going to go to Ryan's screen to do so.
Good evening. Thank you for participating in the forum tonight. My name is Nezzy Wade, and I am the president of the board for Affordable Homeless Housing Alternatives. And my question is precipitated by the fact that we don't have affordable housing in Humboldt County. Affordable sheltering could be implemented locally. What actions will you to support the implementation of the alternatives of safe parking, legal campsites, and tiny house villages for our unhoused community members?
Okay, and Larry Doss, we're going to go to you for this question. 2 minutes.
Great. This is one of my top priorities, is to handle the homeless issue and provide real quality options for the community that is homeless. One of the things that is a new project just about rolling out with the county is called the Navigation Center that is underway. And that project, hopefully we'll see that built by the end of this year, maybe first of next. There's going to be multiple projects that I'm looking forward to rolling my sleeves up and getting involved in. So DHHS is on that right now, and they've got that option going, plus they're looking at others. Then affordable housing can also be solved with affordable housing and sheltering can be solved with a great partnership, a public-private partnership. First, by just allowing some infill and be more smart with our planning and building, as far as options that we don't typically see right now in Humboldt County, but infill with multiple levels. Infill and tiny houses are relatively easy. I've seen a little tiny house project in McKinleyville that looks very successful, has great track record, but there's a lot of different options. And because, everyone's a little bit different.
30 seconds.
Not every homeless solution project is going to fit all. So we have to be flexible and malleable with that.
And Steve Madrone, same question, 2 minutes.
Great question. Thank you, Nezzy, and all the work that AHA does in our community. Affordable sheltering, safe parking, sanctioned camps, these are all part of the puzzle. There are 3 primary things that we have to think about when we're trying to help provide homeless individuals housing and help remove this housing insecurity that's all over our community and the state, if not the whole country. The first thing is having more funds to be able to make things happen. And luckily, we're in a period right now where the state and the federal government are putting a lot more funds into this. The second thing is to have good partners. The way it typically works is there's some fantastic workers in the Department of Health and Human Services here at the county, or DHHS, but they rely a lot on partners, nonprofit partners, as well as church partners and others. And they step up and help us deliver these programs. What we need to be able to do is provide advanced payments for those partners, as well as rapid turnaround on the payments from the county. When we don't do that, it makes it very difficult for the partners to step up. The third thing that we need is locations, and that's the most difficult part of this. But we already have a tremendous amount of camps all over the county, and we're spending about $60,000 to $100,000, according to Senator McGuire and Sheriff Hansel, for every homeless person per year, $60,000 to $100,000. And that's not on solving the problem. That's on emergency rooms, hospital visits, all kinds of environmental damage, other problems in the community. And so I believe that if we take that money and we move it up front, we're going to do a lot better. And we can work with communities with empathy, find places where we can provide sanctioned camps, safe parking with good services, and help people move into programs and things to help them with whatever they're experiencing. So I've been working with Humboldt Valley to get the modular plant back up.
Sorry about that. Larry Doss, 1 minute.
Thank you. So the real issue with housing too is that we need to provide housing affordable on multiple levels. And when you do that, it helps to move people through the housing chain of our life. And that opens up the market. So that's how private industry, private practice can help. Also, there's plenty of private partners that I've worked with that are very interested in providing facilities that are various in types, some RV related parking, some condominium, and actually offer the ability for those folks that are looking for housing to become future homeowners. So lots of options out there, and we just need to be broad in looking at those options and considering them.
And Steve Madrone, 1 minute.
I was glad to be able to test the mute button there. You guys are good. That's a fair debate when you cut us off right when we get there. Thank you. So very quickly, as I said, the Humboldt modular plant, I've been working with the tribe to get that back up and running, and they can be producing a tremendous amount of tiny homes in our community, which is part of the solution. As a board, we also passed a new housing element about 2 years ago that incentivizes tiny home ADUs or accessory dwelling units, detached bedrooms, and many other types of small and affordable housing. We're also going to be adding a tremendous amount of housing in McKinneyville with our town center planning. We know we already have a housing problem. HSU is going to create a new demand with Cal Poly. And so we have a lot of work to do. And I agree that private and public partnerships is how we get there and make all of that happen. We need to have a lot of empathy.
Okay. And I believe that brings us to our next question by Cooperation Humboldt. Ryan.
I'm Lorna Bryant of Cooperation Humboldt. Participatory budgeting is a democratic process in which community members directly decide how to spend part of a public budget. By giving communities real decision-making power in a collaborative process, participatory budgeting can strengthen ties between citizens and officials. Earlier this year, the city of Arcata successfully conducted a participatory budgeting pilot project in partnership with Cooperation Humboldt. If elected, will you commit to working with community agencies to employ a participatory budgeting pilot project at the county level? Thank you.
Okay, Steve Madrone, we're going to go to you for this one.
You bet. Well, that's another great question. I think we're going to hear a lot of good ones tonight. Participatory budgeting is a fantastic thing. I've long thought that when we do our tax returns, it'd be really nice if there are a set of boxes there and you say, I want this much to go to the schools. I want this much to go to housing. I want, but that's not there. As a county, we used to have a very vigorous participatory budgeting process. We had the road show that we went out, but COVID put an end to that. Now is the time to bring that back because we're all hopeful that we're moving out of COVID. We're starting to have in-person meetings again, and that's absolutely a requirement, and I will push for that. I am committed to making sure that we have a participatory budgeting process. And I agree completely that it does strengthen ties when people have that direct access to their supervisors, to elected officials, to department heads to tell us what you think the priorities are for these budgets. We get a lot of money that comes in. There's a lot more money out there, and we need to be able to go after that. And I've been supporting adding staff specifically that are professional grant writers so that we can take advantage of much of that tax money that we put out there and help bring that tax money home and spend it on those things that the community is telling us that they'd like to see happen. So that's something I'm very committed to. And how much time do I have left?
Oh, 30 seconds, 30 seconds, sorry.
30 seconds. Okay, so yeah, it's something that's been missing, and I'm going to be talking to our CAO and others about how we bring back that process in a vigorous way. So I appreciate the question. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Larry Doss, the same question on participatory budgeting and working with Cooperation Humboldt.
Great. Oh, I love it. Anytime we can bring more people involved into decision-making in local government. It makes it stronger, makes better buy-in on the decisions. It really sets the county up for services to be extremely successful. And I just think it's even it got good legs to bring a positive morale booster to the county staff. So I see it as a plus all the way around. I do not see a negative to it. I'd love to see us use that form of budgeting. I did like also the road show prior to COVID, and I think the outreach into the community. Anytime we can get more people, more eyes looking on budgets, the smarter we get.
And Steve Madrone, 1 minute.
No need for rebuttal. I think we're fine. We'll save some time.
Larry, is there anything else you'd like to add with your minute? Okay.
Nope, we're good.
Moving on. Our next nonprofit is the Humboldt Area Center for Harm Reduction. Again, we'll go to Ryan.
My name is Jasmine Guerra, and I'm the Executive Director with the Humboldt Area Center for Harm Reduction. And I'm going to present a few of our questions. The first question is that the pandemic has proven to worsen the health needs of people who use drugs and people experiencing homelessness in our community. We're looking for a candidate who will prioritize the well-being of the people who are most vulnerable to preventable and premature deaths. How will you support the life-saving services of harm reduction, overdose prevention, and advocacy for people who use drugs and/or people experiencing homelessness in our community? The second question is about fentanyl in our community. In the past year, as a reaction to an increasing number of overdose deaths, we've seen elected officials push towards the narrative of wanting to convict people who sell fentanyl to be charged with murder if the sale can be linked to an overdose. This tactic is harmful and it worsens the negative effects of the war on drugs. Do you have an opinion on the matter? And if so, what is it? And the third question that we have is, do you support the reallocation of funds from police departments to community-based programs that support people who use drugs and/or people experiencing homelessness? Thank you.
Okay, there was a lot there. So we're going to go ahead and give each candidate 3 minutes for this one. And we're going to start with you, Larry Doss.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, there was a lot there. So, and this kind of ties in with what we were talking about earlier with the homeless issue, the most vulnerable population being exposed to the elements, and also they have a high use of medical services, emergency medical services, which kind of creates a wear on our emergency medical services across the whole population. So a solution there would be fantastic, and I believe there are solutions there. I believe Connie Beck at DHHS, like I said earlier, has got that navigation center. I think we all need to pay attention to that and be rooting that on. I think that's going to be a step in the right direction, and maybe a way to multiply it across the county so that it's very approachable, very easy to access by that vulnerable population. And then as far as advocacy, absolutely, I plan on advocating for everybody in Humboldt County, especially the 5th district, but we're all Humboldt, we're all together here. So a vote or a decision by one supervisor will affect all, and definitely it's a sad situation. Society's gotten us here, and I believe we have solutions here within Humboldt County to resolve. Fentanyl deaths, in one way, I don't have enough information, but off the top of my head, I'm not going to say that I would agree with automatics of pressing charges hard on fentanyl deaths. I think you need to leave that to the district attorney to make those determinations and base those on law. And then reallocation of funds from the sheriff's department to projects. I am not in favor of that. I'm in favor of bolstering the sheriff's department because the sheriff's department needs more boots on the ground, so to speak, right now. And I believe we can find the funds from somewhere else to handle the services to provide to this population.
Okay, excellent. With 30 seconds to spare. And Steve Madrone, 3 minutes for this kind of 3-tiered question.
Yeah, a lot of stuff packed in those 3 questions, and they're excellent. First of all, let me just say that I think the pandemic's been really hard on all of us, but in particular, our vulnerable populations have suffered the most. There's no doubt about that. They're out on the streets, they're in the woods, without showers, without washing facilities, without garbage facilities. It's just horrendous. And you know, we all were able to shelter into our homes during the pandemic in the first year. But what about the people that are out on the streets? There were people that are throwing rocks at the jail in order to get arrested so they could get 3 square in a bed. I mean, it's that desperate. It's really taking a toll on that population. We need to do a lot more. And yes, there are solutions and we need to implement them. So the county, as I said, we passed a new housing element, and that's going to help us with a lot of things like tiny homes and other affordable types of housing. But we're also on the verge of reviewing and hopefully approving a new ordinance at the county, a safe parking and sanctioned camps ordinance, so that we can find ways and places where we can provide better situations for people that are literally living in the woods. So that's an important part of what we need to do. Fentanyl has really become a real scourge on our communities on many, many levels. It is absolutely a problem. But like any problem, it's not just a simple, well, let's just do this and it'll all go away. I was asked to come out and walk with a lot of Hoopa families several months ago to walk against the fentanyl use and the drug dealers in the reservation and in our communities. So I participated in that. I was very honored to be asked to be part of that. And we actually have an issue on our agenda tomorrow in regards to fentanyl that we're going to be working through as a board of supervisors as well. You know, it's not so much that we need to defund the police as much as I think we need to reprogram how we handle things. I was the supervisor who pushed very hard to make sure that we got raises for all of our deputies, including all the rest of our county staff, because we were understaffed. We had the money to hire people, but the wages we were paying were so low, we were not able to recruit and retain people, and morale was low. And I was pleased to hear that as soon as we got that passed in January, Sheriff Hansel was on the news saying that those wage increases have absolutely helped recruit, retrain, or retain, and increase morale. So what I think we need to do, and we started getting some new funding, is to have more trained social outreach workers riding with the deputies to help with the stuff on the streets and help people get into programs if they're looking for help to be able to change their lives. So that's what I support. Thank you.
Larry Doss, 1 minute.
You bet. One of the things I'm very proud of is I was recently endorsed by the Humboldt County Deputy Sheriff's Organization as well as Sheriff Billy Hansel. And one of the things that has come up in discussions with those two is that we have not really allowed the Sheriff's Department to fully serve. And one of the things, going back again to what we've talked about with the homeless issues and such, I'm trying to be fast on this clock, is that we can take care of some of the problems outside and allow our existing services to really ramp up and stretch their legs and do full service to the community that they very much would like to provide.
15 seconds to spare and 1 minute rebuttal, Steve Madrone.
Yeah, you know, it's really interesting to see who supports who and who endorses who. And what Larry said is true, that the deputies and the 2 sheriffs have endorsed him. I think that has more to do with cultural bias, frankly, than it does with actions. As I said, I was the person on the board who argued for those pay raises. And it's just kind of interesting how that stuff pans out. I think part of it is because I really demand really good service from our deputies. And I believe most all of them are incredible people that really care about the communities on many, many levels. But there are a few that, you know, have caused a lot of problems. And so I've questioned that. And I think that's another reason why that support went the other way. So I'm not a person who's going to shy away from questioning both myself, my board, and the rest of our department heads to try and provide better service to our community.
Excellent. And before we go to our next question, I do want to remind our listeners and our viewers, you got to tune to KMUD Garberville. This is KMUD News's live candidate forum with those in the running for Humboldt County's 5th Supervisorial District. And with that, we'll go to the Humboldt Del Norte Central Labor Council.
Good evening, supervisor candidates. Thank you for taking the time to come to our forum and listen to our questions. My name is John Fromm, and I'm the president of the Humboldt and Del Norte Central Labor Council. My question today is, taxes have become a very important issue for the regulated cannabis market. Would you support efforts underway that could give local tax credits for cannabis businesses that meet certain labor standards? For example, having a collective bargaining agreement, a state certified training program, a local hire preference? If so, how would you implement such a program? Thank you so much and have a great evening.
Okay, and Supervisor Madrone, you will be starting off this round.
Oh, thank you, Lauren. Yeah, thank you, John, for the question. I do support local labor and local hire, and I think that's why most all of the unions in Humboldt County have endorsed me, all of the working people in the community other than the deputy sheriffs. At any rate, that's because I stand with labor. I've been a labor union member for quite a few years. I'm not currently because I took a new job, but I am the one person at the board who's, from the day I took office, been working to try and provide incentives. When you take Economics 101, you're taught about carrots and sticks, and carrots are what we encourage people with through financial incentives to do certain things, whereas sticks are, if you don't do it, we're going to come in with the stick and we're going to regulate you. It's long known that when you have more carrots to where they actually work and encourage people to do things, that's far more efficient than trying to just regulate something. So I've been working to bring forward tax credits on many issues like conserving water through rainwater collection, protecting our streams and fisheries through erosion control, as well as encouraging people to adopt new alternative energy practices. But I also agree that it'd be great to create incentives for local hire and for paying proper wages for people. The industry is absolutely struggling right now because it doesn't have the same benefits a lot of other industries have, where they're able to write off all of their expenses. For instance, cannabis, because it's currently federally illegal, are not able to do that, and they're not able to get banking and other types of services. So we've got a lot of work to do to try and help that industry become more viable, but mainly I try to support the local small farmers. And yes, I would support measures to try and bring forward local hire.
All right, Larry Doss, same question.
So that industry is too young right now to force unionizing upon it, and I believe it's a very responsible form of agriculture. We have deemed it as normal agriculture in the state of California, although it is got a lot of hurdles with not being recognized by the federal government. So there's a lot of expenses that are not being able to be written off by farmers, which is a huge financial burden. They are not in the place right now to impose burdens on them. And I believe the farmers that I met quite a few, they are very responsible employers. A lot of them are very small, and forcing some unionization on them at this point, I think, is a little premature, but I'd be open to always looking at it in the future.
Steve Madrone, 1 minute.
Thank you. It is a young industry, and as I said, it's not federally legal yet, but that will happen in the next year or two. I think it's something like 47 states have already approved recreational and medicinal cannabis usage. So it's only a matter of time. And once that happens and farms are able to write off their expenses, most of the farmers I know, and particularly the local craft small farmers that grow it in the sun, grow it in the ground, They care about this community. These are their homesteads, and they care about their workers. They actually used to pay better wages in the illegal market before, when it wasn't legalized. And that's been a big hit on the industry and the workers. So it's my belief that they do want to pay better wages, but they need to be able to write those expenses off.
Larry Doss, 1 minute.
You bet. So one of the issues there is having a supervisor that's going to be a strong advocate to the federal government and persistent and diligent in putting the message about legalization, being able to bank and tax on the federal side, and also enjoy the same tax benefits of write-offs as any small business owners do currently.
And we are going to go to our next question, but I want to also remind listeners that you can call 707-923-3911. Again, 707-923-3911 if you have a question for candidates, or you can join us on the KMUD News Facebook page live feed and type it there. We're now going to go to 350 Humboldt. Hand it over to you, Ryan.
The public April 7th. What changes will... Hi, my name is Deborah Dukes and I represent 350 Humboldt, a climate action group. Please share your thoughts regarding the draft Humboldt Regional Climate Action Plan, CAP, that was released to the public April 7th. What changes will you suggest to improve it during the EIR process? How will you encourage Humboldt County's adherence to the CAP when it is finally adopted? Thanks very much.
Okay, and Larry Doss, we're going to start with you this round.
You bet. So the 350 Humboldt has got quite an extensive list of direction to decarbonizing and eliminating fossil fuels, and I'm in agreement with their plans. Basically, there are some parts of it that I think are maybe a little bit fast and aggressive, but I agree with it. And I'm going to find that, and will demonstrate that I will work tirelessly to promote all forms of renewable energy. And I feel like we will see drastic changes that direction in our near future. One size doesn't fit all, though, and Humboldt County has its own intricacies of, especially with the transportation model, which we've talked about earlier.
And Steve Madrone on 350 Humboldt's question.
Yeah, again, great question. So I am in full support of the draft plan and the community action plan here in Humboldt. But what I want to do is make sure that we improve it by embedding a lot more incentives. As I said earlier in my earlier points, the more carrots, the more incentives we have there to encourage those financial investments, to allow for people to be able to do the things we absolutely need to do. And I don't think there is anything that's too aggressive, frankly, because if we don't get a handle on this, climate change is real and it is coming our way in many ways, like sea level rise on Humboldt Bay, along with the fact that Humboldt Bay is actually subsiding. So the land's going down, the ocean's coming up, and that means some of our sewer plants, our highways, and many things are going to be dealing with stuff. So we have to get very aggressive, but we need to do it in a way where we're rewarding people financially for doing the right thing. And I firmly believe that by doing that, we can actually electrify, we can bring on more alternative energy like solar on all homes. That's a great program. The tax credits need to be boosted back up, and there's a lot of other kinds of things that we can do, including forest management. And I spent my whole adult career here in Humboldt, 49 years, working on watershed management, forest health improvements, erosion control, and doing things that will really help protect our forests, protect our water supply, and more importantly, sequester more carbon through really good forest management by encouraging our forests to older stands.
Okay, Larry Doss, 1 minute.
So I don't disagree with what Supervisor Madrone just said. I feel like we just need to look at some of the customization to protect our rural lifestyles, and that's something that I would like to see in their plan. And I see elements of it, so I would encourage those. And I like their plan. I just feel there needs to be a few adjustments, not too terribly difficult.
Steve Madrone, 1 minute.
Yeah, there are lots of things we can do to protect rural lifestyles as well as urban lifestyles and our planet. And so I'm working on a number of issues that I'm actually meeting with the Secretary of Natural Resources on Thursday of this week down in Sonoma County, as well as the governor showing up for a field trip. And what we're trying to do is figure out how to incentivize, as I said, good stewardship. So I've been working on this for about 20 years. I think its time has come. And I believe that we can do stewardship overlays with urban lands, with rural lands, to help people be able to be rewarded for good stewardship of the forests and the watersheds and our climate.
Thank you both. This next question comes from the Eureka chapter of the NAACP. They did not submit a video, but they do ask if you support the reallocation of funds from police departments towards community-based programs. And this one starts with you, Steve Madrone.
Well, it's not so much that I support a reallocation of funds as much as I want to see funds be put into, as I said earlier, hiring trained social outreach workers to ride along with the deputies, because that's the way we really de-escalate things on the street. If you send somebody with a gun into a situation that's getting volatile, the outcome is fairly predictable. And it's not the way to keep our deputies safe, and it's certainly not the way to help people on the street. So we can do a lot better, and we have programs like the MIST program, which is a mobile outreach program. And the more we add, like we just did, more funding to help folks, trained folks, ride along with the deputies, then we're able to talk people down, get them into programs if they're looking for help, and make that available. Whereas, you know, the approach that is being used, and the sheriff said, well, here's a bunch of de-escalation techniques, and they start out with, you know, a taser, and then they go to a baton, and then they go to a beanbag shotgun. I mean, all those are escalation techniques. And I believe that we need trained people with the deputies so that we can actually help people on the street and help them get into programs that can turn their lives around. That's how we need to focus this. You know, there's a lot going on in all our communities, and people want to feel safe. So I'm very much a law and order person. And I think that's obviously shown in the way I work with communities and trying to actually find solutions, not get into, you know, just reactionary approaches to things.
Larry Doss, 2 minutes.
You bet. The short answer to that is that I'm not in favor of reallocating public safety funds anywhere, but I would be in favor of adding funds to programs that could help educate and help with outreach, both from public safety, but also from organizations like the NAACP that can work in a cooperative way for our policing efforts. But public safety needs to be left alone and possibly enhanced. I believe that we have quite a few deputies that are reaching and pulling things together and working long hours, just because it's a big county to cover. And I believe that we can hire and fill those vacant positions, that will help relieve some of the stress. All in all, though, I'm very impressed with our local deputies and sheriff's organization, as well as local police and fire, is that we have a tremendous amount of professionals in our county that strive to be the best and provide the best service to the residents of the county, and I applaud them for that.
And Steve Madrone, 1 minute.
You know, it is an interesting balance. And there are a lot of great deputies and a lot of great staff that are working on all this in DHHS and many other programs. So I have no problems with that. But there have been many situations where it would have been really nice to have those trained outreach workers to help de-escalate the situation. That's how you really start out de-escalating, is being able to talk people down and be trained at that. Yes, there are some deputies that have some of this training, but for the most part, they get very few hours of training in this regard in particular. And that's why I'm not trying to cut the funding to the police. What I'm trying to do is add trained people for that outreach.
And Larry Doss, 1 minute.
Hey, I just want to reiterate that I'm going to protect our public services budget and try to enhance it. Also cooperate with the sheriff and help facilitate, if necessary, training and cooperation with other organizations such as NAACP to make all of the deputies well-rounded that interface with the public.
Okay, I think we can squeeze in 1 or 2 more questions before we go to the top of the hour. So with that, we'll go back to Ryan with the North Coast People's Alliance.
Good evening. My name is Caroline Griffith, and I am asking this question on behalf of the North Coast People's Alliance. During the pandemic, the Board of Supervisors quickly adapted to virtual meetings, opening up a new avenue of public engagement by allowing constituents to participate in meetings remotely. Though hybrid meetings, which will hopefully continue, have led to an increase in engagement, there are still many people, including working people, students whose schedules conflict with meetings, parents of young children, and residents who don't speak English as a first language, who are unable to participate in these public meetings. If elected, what will you do to make yourself available to all of your constituents and to hear their thoughts and concerns outside of Board of Supervisors meetings? Thank you.
Okay, and this one goes to Larry Doss, 2 minutes.
Thank you. So accessibility is very important. Starting from phone calls, emails, I am already in habit of receiving and responding to hundreds of interactions a day in my course of business. And I plan to make sure that that's a priority going forward as supervisor. And accessibility also runs as just being out in the community, being at events, being very touchable and reachable. My cell phone is very public. It's going to remain that way. So being approachable, accessible, reachable are just an easy way of doing business, doing life. And that's not going to change. I would be open if the rest of the supervisors wanted to, is to maybe change meeting times. I'd be okay with that if that helped a greater amount of the public to interact with the county supervisors. And I would also be open to even moving meeting locations if that helped. And it would be really nice to rotate a meeting around. Maybe we meet in Willow Creek sometime. Maybe we meet in Garberville sometime. Maybe we meet in Bridgeville sometime, and then we come back around to Warwick. And I think that would be really cool to be out in the public, at least as a special meeting throughout the year.
And Steve Madrone, same question, 2 minutes.
Yeah, accessibility for the public is, really crucial. And I fought hard to bring back a hybrid version when we started opening back up as the pandemic was starting to wind down. And I think the hybrid, there's a lot of positives that came from the pandemic, not a ton. There's certainly a lot of negatives, but the positives were Zoom was one of them, and also hygiene. Perhaps we all needed to get better at that. But the bottom line is that still makes it difficult for communities to access their supervisor. So before the pandemic, and now that it's winding down, I have been holding office hours out in the Willow Creek area, Hoopa, and all the way up to Orleans, so that the folks over on the eastern side of the county have better access to their supervisor. As I said, the 5th district is huge, and the volume of calls that come in every day and the emails is so massive that it can take me a few days to get back to people. But I do that. And when I get a call or an email, I don't sit there and think, did they endorse me? Did they donate? That's just not even an issue. I do my best to respond to everybody that at least leaves a number or a message. if they call and hang up, it's hard for me to know what they want. But I do respond to all those messages. I'm out in the community. I spend only the time I need to at my desk in Eureka for the board meetings and for other things in Eureka. Otherwise, I'm out in the 5th District, spending my time with those communities, listening to their concerns, and then responding to them and trying to help them solve problems. I don't have any other job. This is what I do. I spend my entire work week and the weekends working with the community, focused on this job.
And Larry Doss, 1 minute.
I too, this is going to be my only job moving forward as supervisor for the 5th District. And it goes without saying that I'll be accessible to all. And I really don't, I don't care if someone endorses me or not. You're a Humboldt resident and you've got my ear, and I will gladly listen and give you the respect that you deserve to access a supervisor, even if I am not your supervisor and you live out of district. I'm open to all within the county, and like I said, my cell phone is not going to change, and this is going to be my primary job.
Madrone, 1 minute. You're on mute. Well,
lips are moving and there's no noise. It's another Zoom thing, right? Well, I spend a lot of my time in the community. I know this 5th District really well. I know the residents of the district. I'm familiar with the tribes. I was invited to their dances. And I try to go to every community service district meeting in the county as often as I can. I attend all of the McKinneyville Service District meetings, Trinidad City Council, and many of the other districts, as well as attending all the various events that happen in the community. And that's often a 7-day-a-week, 12-hour-a-day type of a job to be able to do that. But I'm very honored to be asked by many people in the district to come to their events and participate.
excellent. And with that, we are reaching the top of the hour. We do have another hour left. We're going to go to the 8 o'clock hour. I want to hand it over to our engineer, but I first want to let people know if you want to participate, we're coming to a close on some of the nonprofit questions. And if you would like to participate, you can give us a call at 707-923-3911 or find us on Facebook. Just search KMUD News and you can type your question in our live feed. And we're going to focus the next half of this with questions from the audience. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you, Javi. Thanks for engineering. We'll have a 5-minute break. Let's come back at 7:05. Give us time to have some water, use the restroom. We'll be right back. Thanks, Javi.
Support for KMUD comes from the Redwood Coast Energy Authority, who provides services and support to the community to build energy resilience, reduce energy consumption, and expand the use of climate-friendly electric vehicles. Visit redwoodenergy.org for complete details or call 707-269-1700 for more information. And remember, folks, we are standing by. It's our spring membership drive, and we want you to go to the phones right now and not just give us your questions, but also give us your membership as well. We have folks standing by to take in your donations. And remember, you can always go to KMUD.org and give us your donation if you appreciate having the, what are we calling this? The candidate forum this evening. Let us know. This program is supported by the Redwood Palace, a full-service restaurant that offers a relaxing dining experience on the Avenue of the Giants, offering a full selection of local beer and wine, Humboldt Bay oysters, cheese, and charcuterie boards, and dinner specials. The Redwood Palace is located in Miranda and can be reached at 707-223-5749. Menu and more online at redwoodpalacemiranda.com. To go and dine in from Wednesday through Saturday, 5 to 9 p.m. And it is 7 o'clock. You got to tune to KMUD Garberville, 91.1 FM and HD1, KMUE Eureka, 88.1 FM and HD1, KLAI Laytonville, 90.3 FM, on the web at kmud.org, and FM translator K258BQ Shoulder Cove, 99.5. It is 7:01, 58 degrees outside the studio here, and we are doing our 5th District Supervisor Candidate Forum tonight with incumbent Steve Madrone and Larry Doss. And we have Lauren that is facilitating that. We are on a break right now, and we're going to be going back to that in just about 4 minutes. Stay tuned, folks. Remember that we are in our spring membership drive, and we're standing by to take your donations and also take your questions for this forum as well. And you can call us at 707-923-3911. We're standing by. If you have to call back maybe a couple of times because we only have one person answering the phone, be persistent and be patient with us. And we appreciate you participating.
Okay, we are back. Good afternoon, good evening to our listeners and to our viewers. This is Lauren Schmidt from the KMUD Newsroom. We have a special edition of KMUD News, a live candidate forum with incumbent Steve Madrone and candidate Larry Doss for Humboldt County's 5th Supervisorial District. I would like to remind our listeners that KMUD is a neutral entity and we do not endorse or promote any candidate or individual, political party, or ideal. It is our mission to inform, educate, and inspire our listening community. So with that, we're going to go to our next question, which is from the Humboldt Transition Age Youth Collaborative. And I'll hand it back over to Ryan.
Hi, my name is Lucius. My pronouns are they, them, and I am a member of the Humboldt County Transition Age Youth Collaboration's Youth Advocacy Board. Our question for you is, young people 16 to 26 experience high rates of houselessness in Humboldt County, a trend that is true across the state and nation. Concerningly, LGBTQIA+ and Two-Spirit youth, current and former foster youth, youth that have struggled with mental health, and youth who experience racism are significantly more likely to become homeless in comparison to the general population. Part of this problem is a lack of specialized services and safe spaces, as well as the stigma and discrimination we experience searching for and maintaining housing or even just shelter. As a supervisor, what actions would you take to partner with stakeholder groups, such as those of us here, to create youth-led solutions that address the specific needs of unhoused, marginally housed, and at-risk transition age youth?
And Steve Madrone, we're going to start with you. 2 minutes.
Thank you. A great question. And I use the pronouns he and him. And as a member of the Behavioral Health Board, I've been working to try and make sure that our youth have more of a voice in our board and in our meetings and in our solutions. You know, in so many things, if you want to fix something, well, you go to the people who are asking for help, and they've got a lot of great solutions. We really need to listen to our youth. As I said, I've got 4 kids and 20 grandkids, or actually 19 grandkids, 1 great grandkid. And so youth are really important to me. I spend a lot of time working with my family and other families to try and make sure that we increase the support that we need for specialized programs as well as safe spaces for all of our youth, no matter how they identify. This is really a big problem all over our community and all over the country and the world, really. And so what I'm going to say is not a lot of words. I'm here to help with that. I've been doing what I can within the realm of my position as a board member and speaking out and trying to support an increased voice, more programs, and being responsive to our youth, like transition age youth. I've actually had a number of my grandkids that have sought out those services. And I got to tell you, it's a fantastic program. And so many of the other things that we do, you know, we've got a Hope Center as well, but that's for the adults. And we just have so limited services for our youth. Our hospitals, all the things around here don't take in our youth. If youth are having a problem that's really serious, then often they are, you know, sent out of the area to Santa Rosa or somewhere else. So we've got a long way to go to improve our services for this part of our community in particular. So I'm committed to that.
Larry Doss, 2 minutes.
So I feel like the first thing that would happen in order for this subject is to meet and find out the priorities. I don't want to assume that I know. I do have several friends that have kids that have used similar services, and I don't know if they're the exact same, but lots of different stories here, and I would not want to presume that I know and an expert of this, but I am a great listener, and I think that the ear definitely belongs to the youth, because that is our future, and I cherish the youth both in education and services needed, and I'm very attentive to that.
Steve Madrone, 1 minute.
Yeah, that is exactly right. We need to be meeting with the youth, and I do that with the Behavioral Health Board. But even more importantly, as a grandfather of 6 foster kids, I have experience with my daughters and our families directly what services are or are not available. I hear from that community a lot about what is needed, and I've been working within my capacity to try and improve our listening to those needs and making sure that we're being respectful and allowing for and incorporating and actually reaching out and embracing our youth in terms of telling us what is needed, where it's needed, and how we can get there.
Larry Doss, 1 minute.
So I've got quite a history of volunteering for several organizations, and I believe it was probably more than 20 years ago. It wasn't the same type of names, but I volunteered for a group that collected listed items from youth in public that were couch surfing. And that was very eye-opening experience. And it led me to also get involved with the Food for People program, with the backpack program, and several of our Rotary clubs within the county, as well as the Family Outreach Center in McKinleyville, all are involved with that. So I'm looking forward to hearing more, learning more, and being an advocate for the youth.
We're going to go to our next nonprofit question from Queer Humboldt.
Hi, I'm Lark Doolin. I'm the Executive Director for Queer Humboldt, and our question is this. If you are elected, how will you make our community safer for gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, non-binary, two-spirit, and queer community members, both adults and youth?
And Larry Doss, we start this with you, 2 minutes.
Great. So I'm open again to listening here and see if we're missing something within the community. I believe that Humboldt generally is a very safe community, and I believe we're very, very open compared to other parts of the country and the world. Very open to all backgrounds, all races, all beliefs. And we're very accepting, and I would like to do whatever I can to further that. And that's just going to take a lot of listening, and I feel like I can be up to speed fairly quick on that as supervisor.
Steve Madrone, 2 minutes.
You know, as a society, we have come a long way in the last 20 or 30 years, but frankly speaking, we have a long ways to go. And for those that identify themselves in these various categories that were mentioned, they don't feel safe, frankly speaking. There is a lot of problems still. There's a lot of bias, a lot of prejudice. And that's not to put anybody down. It's just that we do have a long way to go to educate ourselves, to understand how to be tolerant of people with different viewpoints, different persuasions, and the rest of it. And there's a lot we can do. And it's absolutely true that the way we get there is by listening to folks that are experiencing these things and their suggestions for how we make folks feel safer, but not just feel safer, actually be safer in the way that we manage our communities, how we go about treating each other, having that tolerance, that open mind for people of different persuasions. There's a lot of prejudice that still occurs in our community. And I don't think it's because people want to be bad to each other. It's just a matter of educating yourself, opening your mind. And let's be honest, most of our families have folks that have made these different choices about who they are and how they want to live and what orientation they want to have. So they're telling us we need to listen and we need to act and do better.
Larry Doss, 1 minute.
I believe we can always do better with everything. I've got several clients, several family members, all that are identified in several of the lists that we just heard from Lark. And I believe just showing old-fashioned respect and manners is what you're going to expect from me.
Steve Madrone, 1 minute.
Tolerance, understanding, listening, acting, actually doing things that really make the lives of all of the members in our community feel safer in all of these regards.
Our next question comes from Healthcare for All, Humboldt Physicians for a National Health Program.
Hello, my name is Patty Harvey. I am a co-director of Healthcare for All Humboldt and Physicians for a National Health Program also in Humboldt County. My question is, Humboldt County spends $20 million annually buying private corporate health insurance plans for its employees. Do you support a universal single-payer healthcare system that would cut out private for-profit middlemen, health insurance companies, and totally eliminate this financial burden? If not, why not? If so, what local additional benefits do you see for Humboldt County with such a healthcare system?
Okay, and Steve Madrone, you'll start us off with that one, 2 minutes.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Patty. That's something that affects all of us, right? I mean, we're all spending a fortune on healthcare through our premiums, through our matching costs, and then we don't even have a lot of specialists here in Humboldt County anymore for a lot of reasons. A big part of it is the cost of healthcare through the private sector and the profit margins and other things that happen there. So I brought forward a resolution to our board about a month, maybe 6 weeks ago, to support healthcare for all in this country. And at first, it didn't look like there was full support, but in the end, we got, I forget if it was a 5-0 or a 4-1. There was one individual that thought this is none of our business and the law is going to change later before it gets to its final form. So why are we weighing in now? We're weighing in now because it's costing all of us a fortune. And when people say, well, how are we going to afford it? How are we going to pay for it? All the money's already there. It's all in these premiums and the profit margins and the rest of it. So I absolutely support healthcare for all. And once we implement that, as was mentioned, the county is spending about $20 million on our current healthcare system. That money could be going towards paying down our liabilities on our premiums for CalPERS and all of our other things that are really hurting our county budgets, like roads. You know, that 20 million could go to a lot of really great things in our community instead of just going into the pockets of large corporations that don't seem to really care. And they've had decades and decades and decades to make this work better. So it's high time that we pass healthcare for all.
Larry Doss, 2 minutes.
Boy, healthcare is a big deal. Myself and my wife both have gone without doctors now for well over 4, probably 5 years, but we still pay our health insurance, and it's if not equal, it's pretty darn close to our mortgage. So it's a big financial burden on us every month, but we're not receiving the benefit of it. And in some sense, I've talked to several doctors, and it seems to be very split. And I trust that they know the systems and the ins much better than I do. And so I would rely on those experts to help inform, guide me, and keep me up to date on those kind of changes. I believe we have a solution out there, and I believe that the medical physicians and professionals all are coming from different points of view, but I believe they have solutions that we can get on board with. And I love the concept of healthcare for all, and I think there's something there. We just need to dive in and make sure it works all the way around. We also have opportunities to look at eliminating some of the bureaucracies, and in California, that means advocating to the state on alleviating some of those bureaucracies and being a strong voice from Humboldt County to Sacramento, and start that way.
Steve Madrone, 1 minute.
Well, it's true that the medical professionals do have a lot of ideas and concepts about what might work from their perspective, but you know, the most important perspective here is all of us, you know, the people, and what do the people need? And as I said before, the private sector has had decades and decades to fix this thing, but they seem to be primarily focused on profit margins. Pharmaceutical corporations seem to be focused on providing things that treat symptoms, but don't actually provide a healing for people, because that doesn't really provide all the profit that treatments of symptoms bring in over a long, long period of time. So yes, I want to bring in the medical professionals, but it's also true that the people have spoken and they know that we need a better system. And there are many countries who have implemented much better systems than we have.
Larry Doss, 1 minute.
So eliminating the middleman is a big deal for me. I think we would all be very surprised to know how little the doctors make on say operations and such as practicing in a hospital setting. So it's that middle place, that insurance company place that, again, I believe we can advocate for and be a loud voice coming from Humboldt County, join with other counties, and really shape Sacramento to not be so open to the insurance industry and back off some of those expenses right away. And I believe that could be solved quicker than changing the whole medical system nationally.
15 seconds. Okay. These next set of questions are yes or no questions, and they come from the Redwood Coalition for Climate and Environmental Responsibility. Their acronym is ROCKER. So Larry, this first yes or no question is for you. Do you believe Humboldt County should take action to rein in activities of businesses that are contributing to the climate crisis? Yes or no?
Yes.
Steve Madrone, same question.
Yes, although I've changed the terms a little bit. Anyway, no. I mean, I'm sorry. Yes, I would.
Next question. Heating homes and cooking with natural gas causes severe health impacts and contributes to the climate crisis. Do you believe Humboldt County should ban new development with gas infrastructure? Yes or no? Steve Madrone. Oh, you were muted there. I didn't catch that.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's another yes. Yeah, okay. No explanation. Yes or no. Sorry.
Larry Doss, same question.
No.
Next question. All new housing should be able to access jobs and other necessities within 15 minutes without a car. Larry Doss, yes or no?
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, all new housing should be able, I think they're asking if all new housing developments should be within 15 or so minutes from their workplace and the grocery stores without a vehicle.
I guess ideally, yes.
And Steve Madrone.
These are fun, huh, Larry? Yeah, that's a yes, but obviously I think Larry and I both would put some caveats out there.
Right.
I don't know if that's realistic here in Southern Humboldt, but okay, next question. This is
exactly.
That's the worth of 5th District.
The final yes or no question. The county has previously refused to restrict residential housing production on resource zoned lands. Do you support additional restrictions on housing development on resource zone lands? Yes or no, Steve Madrone?
Yeah, if you look at fires, that's a big yes.
And Larry Doss?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to go to one of our listeners' questions here on our live feed. This one comes from Jessica Callahan. It is no secret that the county struggles to hire and retain medical providers. We have a serious lack of doctors. What is your plan to help our area with these issues? I'll start with you, Larry Doss.
So that's always a revolving door, but I believe the county would do well by incentivizing young doctors coming out of medical school, help to take a burden off their cost of schooling, and in exchange for a time commitment of remaining in the county. I believe if we kept doctors here a few more years, they too would fall in love with Humboldt County and want to stay.
Steve Madrone, 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think we've all been experiencing a lack of not so much doctors, but specialists. And those include doctors, they include nurse practitioners, they include all sorts of different medical professionals that our county has lost a lot in the last 10 or 15 years. many of us are, most of us are heading off to Redding or Santa Rosa or San Francisco to get a lot of our medical care. And I was very curious, well, why is that happening? And we know that housing is part of that. The lack of housing, not only for low-income people, but for middle and upper-income people is actually very limited here in Humboldt County. But the primary reason, according to the Medical Society of Humboldt County, which I met with, I meet regularly with, and I asked them, why are we seeing this shortage? And they said it was because so many of the young people coming into the medical profession don't want to open up their own firm because of the high rates of malpractice costs, both for insurance and incidents of claims. And that itself has got most of the young people coming out of medical school going into clinics and hospitals, not wanting to open up their own personal professional offices. So by adopting healthcare for all and helping to remove some of those barriers, and by working on housing in our community for all levels of our community, we will start attracting more specialists and more medical professionals in our community.
Larry Doss, 1 minute.
So I believe incentivizing, looking outside the box, possibly creating opportunities to bring in medical in different ways. We have several partners within private and semi-private entities, even within the county, that I believe the county could partner with and see some new possibilities. But then they're again advocating against those bureaucracies, like what Supervisor Madrone said, that the young doctors coming out don't want to open up their own practice. The bureaucracies are stopping that, and the insurance companies are overwhelming. So we need to step past them and get some real solutions. And again, advocating to Sacramento, I believe, is a good start.
Steve Madrone, 1 minute.
Yeah, well, as I said, I've been endorsed by Senator McGuire, Assemblyman Wood, and Congressman Huffman. So I have developed the relationships with our state and federal officials, which you need to do to be able to move forward and get things done, basically. So that's a big part of it. And I'm working hard on the housing part of that picture, as well as other reforms like healthcare for all. Also, our medical professionals are really struggling with the pandemic, as well as it's gotten far more dangerous in the ERs and everything. And that's dealt with by working with people that are having issues and helping them get into programs to help our medical professionals feel safe and be safe.
Okay, this next question, we'll start with you, Steve Madrone. This comes from one of our listeners in regards to water in Northern Humboldt. Are you willing to work with the Trinidad Rancheria and Humboldt Bay Water instead of creating small districts?
Yeah, another great question. So yes, I am. I have made it very clear, both in writings in the paper and with direct communications with the Trinidad Rancheria, that I would absolutely support reasonable development on the Rancheria that fits within the site and its environmental constraints and fits within the community as a whole. And I don't believe that's a 5 or 6 story hotel. And I don't believe that an interchange paid for by public monies is something that we ought to really be considering. And yet that's what's happening. So yes, I have worked hard to try and work with the Rancheria on what I consider to be reasonable development that is supported by not only many Rancheria members, but also many in the community surrounding the Rancherias. And I'm a big proponent of resilient water supplies. I was a big help to the city of Trinidad and West Haven in getting over $12 million in the last month for helping improve their water resiliency, to replace storage tanks, to work on fixing leaks in the pipes. Trinidad was losing 30–40% of their water, and as well as doing groundwater recharge and forest health thinning to help recharge our groundwater. I'm a big proponent of trying to live within your means and working with the water resources that are available to you. One of the problems with the pipeline coming to the Rancheria from the Mad River is that it would absolutely be a growth-inducing element that the majority of the community don't want to see happen. They want to try and maintain the beautiful community they have, and I support that. And so that's why I've been working with the West Haven Community Service District, the Trinidad City Council, and with the Rancheria where they're willing to try and work on water resiliency and rainwater storage, things like that.
Larry Doss, 2 minutes.
You bet. I'm in full support of Humboldt Bay Municipal Water District running water up to, boy, I'd love to see it go all the way up the old highway, Patrick's Point Drive, as far as we could go. One of the reasons is just fire safety, ISO ratings, which is the insurance standard that determines safe communities for fire safety, and having hydrants that you can depend on are very important. I believe running public water is a good stewardship of the ecosystems. I understand that last year the Trinidad water system was in jeopardy of possibly running dry, and luckily we had an early rain to charge the system. That's not good for the ecosystems up there when we have municipal water at hand, and is very reliable, safe, and it helps the environment. So helping the ecosystems, being good stewards, bringing up hydrants, it's not going to cause growth. There's so many other layers of bureaucracy that will impose less growth on that part of the county, that bringing water up there is not going to change that. And then lastly, in 2029, the state of California will reevaluate the water rights for the Mad River. And that's going to help protect our water rights by showing commercial users and more residential users.
Steve Madrone, 1 minute.
Well, this is certainly one area where Larry and I differ quite a bit, but that may be because he's a real estate agent and I'm a watershed management professional. But the bottom line is that it will increase growth. It's well known. You can Google it. Whenever communities bring in a pipeline for water, just that alone will increase development tremendously. And there's a couple of real estate agents in the Trinidad area. Patty Stearns is one of them. Wrote a very detailed letter about how a pipeline would absolutely increase growth in the area. And yes, there are other laws, but the bottom line is if you no longer have a well and a septic system on the same parcel, you can probably increase the density on that parcel. It has to do with septic capacity and things like that. So we differ a lot on that. And I am a proponent of working within our means, within the watershed, increasing our resilience, doing more rainwater collection, fixing leaks, storing water municipally as well as at the home level with rainwater collection.
Just in the nick of time. Larry Doss, 1 minute.
Yeah, I'm going to stand on promoting the Humboldt Bay Municipal Water District extension. I firmly believe that it will not cause growth. Growth is going to happen, and we need to understand that growth is going to happen everywhere in California. There's not going to be a community that can be immune to it, so we need to be smart about it. And I trust that the bureaucracies in place will keep the growth from getting out of control everywhere, but also especially in the Trinidad and West Haven areas. So water, safe water is very important, reliable water.
All right, another question from the community, and this is going to go to you, Larry Doss. Did you receive the COVID-19 vaccine? Why or why not? And can you share your thoughts on the county's response to the pandemic?
No, I did not receive the vaccine. And I believe that a lot of those issues need to still remain personal to people. And I respect those that choose not to answer their medical questions. We've thrown a lot of our medical, which we've taken as a strong measures to be private, and we've aired them out to the public. And I believe that every individual has their own right to choice for their health. And I chose not to take a vaccine, although we vaccinate cattle every year, and I know there's a COVID strain in one of those shots, and I've given myself that shot 50, 60 times over the years. So I don't think it's the same COVID. In fact, I know it's not. I'm just kind of being a little funny. But I believe we keep our medical, have the right to keep our medical choices private, and I'll stand to protect that.
Steve Madrone, 2 minutes.
Yes, I did receive the vaccine as well as a booster. And I think the county's response was good. I mean, this is a really big issue for our communities. And I do respect folks' choice. You know, they can choose one way or another what they prefer to do. You know, I think that this was one of the most difficult things that I've seen in my adult life. Almost a little bit like a sci-fi movie on TV. I don't think any of us ever thought it'd get quite so gnarly, frankly. So yes, I did get vaccinated and I got a booster. Everyone in my family did. My grandchildren eventually did once that was available to the youth. But we also practiced all the other things: isolation, distancing, masking, as well as hygiene. I think these are all ways that we have helped keep our own community safer, to try and, as they say, slow the spread and to knock it down. And yeah, nothing's perfect. It's just like a seatbelt in a car. It doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to get injured, but your chances of being less injured or not dying are far superior with a seatbelt. So I kind of looked at it that way and decided that it was a good thing to do for the community, for myself. And a lot of it was looking at what was happening in our hospitals for our healthcare workers, who are just frankly being completely overwhelmed, you know, with people coming in, literally dying. And, you know, the numbers speak very loudly. When you look at all the data, yes, there are some bad reactions that happen here or there, but when you look at the data as a whole and you listen to responsible reports on this, you will see that the vast number of deaths and illnesses happened for those folks that were not vaccinated. So I try to look at the science. I am a scientist, and I also try to, you know, look at a broad picture of what's going on and make a choice that I think is not only responsible for me and my family, but for the whole community.
Oh, once again, nick of time. Larry Doss, 1 minute. Oh, Larry, you're muted.
Well, looking at the science has definitely become defined differently over the last 2 years. And I am still going to stand on the medical privacy. All of the hygiene and prevention we followed, and I don't believe that there's still enough evidence out there that any of the shots have been studied well enough for me to trust going to get one.
Steve Madrone, 1 minute.
Well, I don't know. We've got hundreds of millions of test samples of people that have taken these vaccinations, hundreds of millions, right? And we can see the results from that. So we absolutely have gotten a lot of scientific data about this. I realize it was rolled out fast. That was really quite amazing. But, you know, and I absolutely respect people's private choices. But this is also a public matter of keeping everybody as safe as we possibly can. And as I said before, what about our medical professionals in the hospitals, in the ER room? It was just so horrible and difficult for them. And I think we have to look at these kinds of things in the big picture.
All right. This next question goes to you, Steve Madrone. The Humboldt County cannabis economy is collapsing. What strategies have you devised to help this critical aspect of Humboldt County's economy?
Yeah, another great question. So what I've done is within 3 months of getting on the Board of Supervisors, I discovered that the Measure S tax, the tax on cultivation in Humboldt County, was actually being charged on people before they even grew it. So looking at that, that seemed incredibly unfair. So I was able to get a 5-0 vote from my board to move that out a whole year. That gave every cannabis farmer a year buffer. It didn't take the tax away, but it gave them a whole year that they didn't have to pay that tax. And the tax was then levied after they grew. I think Measure S is still very problematic and needs to go away. It would be so much better to put that cost on the dispensaries, on the end product, because the consumer is already paying that price. But to put it on the farmer is very unfair. They're already struggling with production and low value, and they really need all the help we can get. Additionally, from the day I got on the board, I've been working to try and bring forward tax credits for converting to solar or small hydro, for doing better job on the roads to control sediment, to keep it out of our water supplies, and to protect our fisheries, as well as helping people convert over to alternative energy, which I said, but also to rainwater collection and water storage and forbearing from pumping from the creeks in the summertime. I continue to support those measures. I'm going to continue to bring them forward. I also supported a tax reduction for the farmers, not nearly what they had hoped for.
30 seconds.
And I understand that they're struggling. I really do. But I had a lot of people that were asking me, so where's my tax deduction? And I would point out to them that the cannabis industry doesn't get to write off their expenses. They didn't get CARES Act. They didn't get ARPA. So it's a very unique situation. And I think there's a lot we can do to incentivize the small farmers in our community to be the craft market that we always imagined Humboldt to be, like Napa wine. We've got a ways to go to get that done.
Okay, Larry Doss, 2 minutes.
So I have learned quite a bit about this industry, and a couple of things seem like real rather quick or easier solutions that could be attacked through advocating from a supervisor level. One is going after the illegal importation of cannabis from both north and south, and look at also going after the illegal dispensaries. There's quite a bit of competition that is muddied and lowered the value of cannabis in California. And I grew up with an agricultural background, and a similar tax was in place for my grandparents in the stone fruit business, plums and apricots. At that time, back in the 70s, they were taxed on every tree or even stump. And so I spent a lot of time as a little kid wrapping chains around dead trees and pulling them out of the ground because the county was going to charge grandpa quite a bit of money for a dead tree. So we don't tax on potential. We tax just like any other normal business. The only place of tax should occur is upon sale and income. So advocating to the IRS.
30 seconds.
Advocating to the IRS for legalizing both for banking purposes that'll bring safety in and normal business write-offs will make big changes in direction. Then advocating also for special events and such.
Steve Madrone, 1 minute.
Yeah, thank you. So, what I think we need to be doing is supporting local, smaller farmers, in particular those that are doing regenerative farming. And as I said earlier, I am continuing to work on and have met with Senator McGuire and Assemblyman Wood to try and bring forth tax credits at the state level. In fact, I'm making a presentation on that down in Sonoma County, as I said, this Thursday with the Secretary for Resources, a program where we would reward good stewardship and provide tax incentives for that. And a lot of that's going to be getting the federal government to eventually legalize it so folks can write off their expenses and get the other benefits that all other businesses get.
Larry Doss, 1 minute.
So there's several things we can cooperate with as a community and as a county. But really, we're talking about agriculture and just having the plain respect that this is an agricultural venture, and they are due the same respect tax-wise and banking-wise as any other business or agriculture venture in the country.
And this next one, I believe, will be our final question before we share your outros. We did have a listener call to ask if you think local volunteer firefighters should be unpaid volunteers, or should there be a source of funds to support local volunteer fire departments? Larry Doss, 2 minutes.
There needs to be something. We are hurting in the volunteer fire department area. Our volunteer fire departments, primarily out in the extreme rural parts of the county, cover an awful lot of responsibility. In some cases, more responsibilities than urban fire departments do. So I would be in favor of some sort of incentive for volunteer departments, and maybe the county should even step up and help convert those into crosses of part volunteer, part paid. There's several hundred miles of highways that the state runs through just in the 5th district alone that volunteer fire departments have responsibilities for medical aid and accident recoveries and responses. And those to me look like unfunded mandates really from the state. They need help. We need to be supporting them more. And it sure means an awful lot when you're calling for help and there is a fire truck, emergency personnel, and ambulance that are within a reasonable distance to helping.
Steve Madrone, 2 minutes.
Well, another critical issue in our communities, the volunteer fire departments are really struggling just even getting volunteers because of all the short-term rentals in the county. So this is an issue that we're going to be bringing forth to the board to try and deal with, because if all of our homes are converting to short-term rentals, we don't have the people to fill the positions in these volunteer fire departments. Getting them to having paid staff would be a good measure, but right now, a lot of them are just struggling with getting a new shop, a new barn, a new fire hall to store their new Measure Z equipment to get it out of the rain. And it's really those local volunteer fire departments that positively affect our ISO ratings. It's not CAL FIRE, but I've also worked hard to support CAL FIRE in the Trinidad area and in my district. But I was able to get $85,000 of unspent funding in our one of the areas up there by West Haven to be able to go to the West Haven Fire Department. They were trying to survive off of Blackberry Pie festivals. The pandemic put a stop to that. And so basically, I was able to help them get significant funding. I also helped the Orleans Volunteer Fire Department extend their timeline on their contract so they could complete their fire hall. And I showed up with my tool belt to work on the crew to help make that happen. So yeah, we do need to provide a lot more support for our volunteer fire departments to help them be whole. They help us with ISO ratings. And as I said, helping CAL FIRE in my community actually helped about 30 to 40 people in the West Haven area get more insurance or keep their insurance. So, ISO ratings come from volunteer fire departments, which are structural firefighting. CAL FIRE is wildland. So it really is those volunteer departments that help us keep our insurance.
Larry Doss, 1 minute.
Yeah, the Amador contract that CAL FIRE has in the Trinidad station is, I believe, the second oldest in the state. And that really fills the gaps in the 5th district. And it in some cases probably gives us a false sense of security when it comes to the fire service in the 5th district. I really believe this is a tough issue as folks assume they can pick up a phone and get a fire truck to respond with appropriate crew in a timely manner. I believe that is it's not so right now, and we need to put a lot of attention to emergency services in our rural communities.
And Steve Madrone, 1 minute.
Yeah, I mean, the firefighters are at the heart of our communities. And as I said, we need to be able to deal with short-term rentals so that we actually maintain a good population in our communities that can bring forth volunteers to work on this. But when we provide them with the kind of funding to have up-to-date air systems, up-to-date equipment and safety measures, that's how we attract more volunteers to work on these departments and work in our community. It's a dangerous job. We know that, and it's unpaid. So there are a lot of ways we can support our volunteer fire departments. In the 5th district, we're looking at possibly trying to consolidate some services. There's a big area out there in Redwood Valley that sits kind of halfway between Blue Lake and out in Willow Creek. So we're looking at how do we increase funding for these departments, as well as how do we make sure we get more volunteers coming to help in that arena.
And we are going to have you both share your final thoughts, and we're going to give you each 4 minutes to do so, starting with you, Supervisor Madrone.
Well, I want to thank all of the nonprofits that came forth with questions tonight. You know, nonprofits are a huge piece in our community. They really keep us whole with all the volunteering work that they do, along with volunteer fire departments and so many other people in our community. So my applause go out to them. There's a lot we've got to do. You know, this is perhaps one of the brightest futures we're looking at in Humboldt in a long time, with the potential for a lot of good projects coming on the horizon. And with Cal Poly Humboldt, you know, there's going to be a housing crunch. So we're going to really need to up our ante on getting more housing built. All of these things can create a lot more jobs, living wage jobs. And I'm very much a supporter of living wage and local hire. And, you know, I'm working with unions to see if we can get the apprenticeship halls running again with all these various projects that are coming on the horizon. So I'm going to continue to build bridges with people in the community that may not look like me or think like me, but I'm sure because of the experiences I've had in Humboldt and the successes I've had, that we can find common ground. I helped start the Trinidad Bay Watershed Council that brings all the stakeholders to the table to try and solve the problems of pollution in Trinidad Bay for our fisheries. And I'm proud to say that in the last 12 years or so, we've brought in over 15 million plus the new 12 million for Trinidad and West Haven. You know, we're over $20 million that have come into that community because we came together as a community, put our differences aside, and worked on our common ground to move forward to support our community as a whole. So I am committed as your supervisor to being a bridge builder, working with people of all persuasions. I think we make a lot better decisions on our board when we have a diversity of opinions on our board that can bring all the various different experiences to the table, find that common ground, and actually move forward on solutions that benefit everybody in our community. I'm committed to listening to everyone in our community. Please call me, email me, ask me for help. I am there for you. I know it might take a little bit of time, a few days to get back to you, but I will. And, you know, I'm committed to returning all those calls and all those emails. This is an exciting time for us, I think, in Humboldt County. There's a lot to do. I encourage everybody to get out and vote. I would be very honored to have your vote on June 7th. And, you know, the mail-in ballots are going to everybody. So they're coming out on May 9th. That's just like a week away or so. So please get out and vote for whoever you prefer. But, you know, get out and vote and be engaged in our community. Come to our meetings, submit questions like tonight. This has been a great community service by KMUD, and I want to thank them. And please donate to KMUD, because what would we do without KMUD? A great, great nonprofit here in our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Steve Madrone. And Larry Doss, your final thoughts, 4 minutes.
You bet. And as a supervisor, there's things that you can count on for me. You're going to count on a high level of integrity, a diligent work ethic, and I will be respectful to all. My ears open to all, and it doesn't matter whether you endorsed me or not. We're all Humboldt. We're all together, and we all have the common love of Humboldt County. I want to work diligently to protect our rural lifestyle and balance that with smart growth. Affordable housing is very attainable on many levels, from rental to ownership. I've got solutions for all of that, as well as I've been in touch with many people that we've become friends that they're homeless, and they've been very insightful to me on giving me different ideas to look at from their perspective. So all perspectives, all voices matter to me, and I'm just really excited to get to work. And there's a lot of solutions to a lot of problems with people have shared with me, visiting with 5th District residents for the last, I don't know, 6 or 8 months. There's a lot of issues. A lot of issues can be easily solved And I'm going to work hard for you. I'm going to be your advocate, and I'm going to be open to your calls and emails. And a Humboldt person is a priority in my mind. I've gone to extra lengths to be fully committed. I've agreed to bring on partners with my business and eventually step away with the intent of being supervisor. So my sole activities, my sole extent of focus is going to be on making Humboldt better, doing smart growth, smart changes, helping our environment, helping safe water, public safety. It's all right there. There's definitely places where we can increase our wildfire safety through prevention, and we can get real solutions for the shelter and security out there. I'm excited about doing this. I don't have any regrets or hesitation. I'm going to go full head. I'm lean hard into this job, and I look forward to a lot of pleasant outcomes for many people going forward. I bring a lot of experience to the table from 2 elected positions in my history. So I've got good background within the county in elected positions. I've owned 2 successful businesses, and I've made hundreds and thousands of relationships already through all of those activities. And I plan on plugging in and leveraging all of that to benefit Humboldt County. So I love Humboldt, and I have a deep passion for Humboldt, and I'm looking to protect Humboldt, but also move forward smartly. And 30 seconds. I again thank you for the time. I'd be honored to have your vote, and I look forward to being the next 5th District Supervisor to serve you.
Well, thank you very much, candidate Larry Doss and incumbent Steve Madrone. This has been KMUD News's live candidate forum with those in the bidding for Humboldt County's 5th Supervisorial District. I've been your host, Lauren Schmidt. It's been a pleasure. Thank you to all of our listeners and viewers. And if you are tuning in late or want to catch this again, you can do so on www.kmud.org and check our archive starting at 6 p.m. this Monday evening. Or if you're on the Facebook, you can visit the KMUD News page where you'll find a video and audio of this and more. I would like to very much thank our engineer, Javier Rodriguez, our tech support, Ryan Christensen, our timekeeper, Stella Gherkins, being shy, and Caroline Griffin for helping to organize this amazing forum. And again, thank you both very much. KMUD is in a pledge drive, so if you found this very helpful in trying to make an informed vote, please go to kmud.org and click the blue Donate Now button. Thank you very much. Javi, back to you in the studio. Bye.